Hey everybody, Ben Beta here. First, I'd like to thank you for watching my channel, and I hope you enjoy this video on this DJI Mini 4 Pro. I just wanted to let you know that this is my very first drone. I've never owned any kind of serious drone like this before. I owned a little tiny one that was pretty impossible to fly, that I just kind of flew around the house several years ago, but I've never owned a drone like this, full out camera drone that is pretty expensive and kind of intimidating even to try. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to purchase a drone like this in a system. So what do you get? What is it like to set up? And what is it like to fly for the first few times? Just to give you some beginner's perspective on this, if you're looking at a drone as a beginner, and just to make a decision. So I was looking for a drone that was going to be great for taking out on our adventures, vacations, flying just for fun, but taking some cool videos when we're out and about. And I didn't want to buy a really big drone that I was going to have to take the 107 exam for sure, no matter what. I wanted something small to start with, learn, and also something that I thought I could use for many years to come, even if I decided never to buy a bigger drone. But it was going to work really well for me, whether it was part of videos for my YouTube channel or just for fun, things I want to take for memories for later on. So earlier in the year, I looked at the DJI Mini Pro 3 when it was on sale for Amazon Prime days. The camera was really good. It seemed to be pretty easy for beginners. It was under 250 grams, which is important. You can kind of see here, it's 249 grams. And that means you don't have to take the Part 107 exam, which is pretty long and lengthy. It's a FAA test, basically for pilots. So I've looked into that a little bit. I might take it one day, but I didn't want to have to do that. And I wanted something, again, that was easy, but took really good 4K video. So one of the reasons that the Mini 3 Pro wasn't going to work for me was that we do a lot of hiking and we do a lot of overland camping. And because of that, I wanted something that was going to have really good tracking, and I wasn't going to have to worry about it if it was kind of flying itself. And the Mini 3 Pro had a couple of directions, like forward and backward obstacle avoidance, but I was really looking for something with 360 avoidance. So I could have looked at the DJI Air 3, but that was too big. It was going to require me to take the 107 exam, and it was pretty expensive. It did have an extra zoom lens camera on it, which that's pretty cool, but I don't think I really need that. And it did have 360-degree obstacle avoidance. So I decided I was just going to wait and see when the Mini 4 came out. And when it came out, it had a couple of pretty good features, but the main one for me was the fact that it had 360-degree obstacle avoidance. Now, it might still run into things like branches from trees that don't have leaves, but I think for the most part where I am, I can control those types of things. And I'm not going to be like biking or going super fast in my vehicle, so I'm not too worried about that. But I did want it to be able to adjust to the environment without me having to worry about it when I was flying it in situations where I was hiking or overlanding. So that was one big thing. One of the other cool features that DJI released with this was the ability to set waypoints. So you can basically set a series of waypoints and the drone will refly that as often as you want, doing the same camera movements. So you can go slower, faster, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to try that out at some point. But the active track was really the main thing that I was looking for that the Mini 3 didn't have. So when this came out, I decided to go ahead and give it a try. So before we dig into sort of what my experience was like setting up the drone and flying it for the first time, let's first take a look at what comes in the box. So let's just really quickly take a look at what you get in the box. This is not the Fly More kit or the Fly More Plus kit or anything like that. This is just the drone with remote control there that has the screen on it. So this is the Fly app directions here. Here we have the drone itself. You can see the drone here. It's got the protector on the front and the protector for the propellers. but nice and small, under 249 grams, which is really important. So we have a pretty thick manual and a link to get the app. We've got a few extra propellers, which is always nice to have. A screwdriver for those, USB-C charging, a piece of cardboard, always helpful, and then the controller. And this is their newest version of their controller, which is nice. And then on the back here, you've got your control sticks, you've got your antennas, you've got your screen, you've got a place for a memory card on here so you can record the screen, and you've got a place for the USB for charging, and then recording and all the controls. So this is something I'm going to definitely have to get used to, but I'm pretty excited about this. So we'll see how this all works out in the end. A couple of things that are important that are being protected. You can see these are the 360-degree sensors on it. There's the front-facing ones, these are the rear-facing ones, and then there's the down-facing ones as well. And let's just see how it works, and we'll come back and give more of an impression on that in a little bit. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about what comes in the box, the next thing was setting the drone up. So the most important things are make sure you take off the gimbal protector and the propeller guards. You have to do that first. Once that's complete though, you basically turn on the controller, you turn on the drone, they pair with each other, you follow a bunch of on-screen instructions to pair it up, update it with the newest software, and it's basically ready to fly at that point. This was all pretty easy. I charged everything up right away too using my River 2 Pro battery system, and all that was simple. So once everything was all set up, I was ready to fly. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to fly around my house because I live too close to an airport. So I had to wait until I was able to get out into the wilderness a little bit. Let's take a look at what happened the first time I flew this. I do have to say, I was pretty nervous, but here's what happened. All right, well, this is the first time I'm going to fly my drone. Hopefully it goes well. There's some deer nearby, so I was hoping to capture some of that. But we'll see. I'm a little apprehensive about this because I've never done it before. I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm hoping it doesn't just take off straight up in the air and never come back. But who knows? Rue's here with me though, as always. And so let's get this drone up. See what we can see. Alright, so here you can see that I'm struggling a little bit with something, and that something happens to be the fact that it was set to take pictures. I hadn't changed that when I was just kind of playing around with it in the house, and so I was wondering why it wasn't recording video, but then I remembered I needed to switch it to video mode, so I was able to do that, and once I switched to video mode, I got my first video.
Where were the deer?
Over this bit. So even the first time flying my drone, I found that I was able to very easily control it. I was a little bit nervous, but it went really well. I definitely recommend taking the time to fly this in an area where you have a decent amount of space to fly things around. And we were up in the mountains, so there were trees, but the trees weren't too thick, so it made it very easy for me to get above the canopy and then fly around the first time. We got some pretty cool images of the lake and some of the mountains, Pikes Peak's in there as well. I just got used to the controls. So as you can see, the first flight went really pretty well. The landing, I did the return to home feature, and it landed very close to where I took off. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't too bad. So I was a very successful first flight. This trip was both to test the drone out and try that out, but also to try to look for some potential campsites for the future. And we came across a really pretty aspen grove. We stopped there and I took some more footage, as you can see here. This time I flew a little bit closer to some of the trees, I flew a little bit faster, and just tried to get a little bit more used to the controls. Again, it's not too hard, and the fact that it has obstacle avoidance is really helpful. So you'll see, one thing you'll notice is that I kind of stop a couple times, and when I'm doing that, the drone is telling me I'm getting too close to an obstacle. It wouldn't fly into it, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to fly into it myself. It'll actually fly around it. That's the mode I had set in. I was learning more and more about how I can control whether it's panning, zooming, tilting, flying side to side, and just understanding how the controls worked. But I got some pretty good footage of the aspen grove and the area around, and even a campsite you can see a little bit below there, which is pretty cool. So this next set of videos was all taken along 8 Mile Road, again just outside of Florissant. This is just an amazing place. It does cost $9 to get in. It's about 8 miles of just a really pretty easy trail, but there's a bunch of places to stop and just enjoy nature. A lot of fishermen, and I was able to stop and put the drone out and get some amazing shots of the canyon and the river. And again, I learned how to fly a little bit more. I took it up a little bit higher. I got some good mountain views. I flew closer to some trees. I got some more action-y type shots. All that was pretty amazing. You can see the footage I think is pretty good for my first time out. So what do I think of Mini 4 Pro as somebody who's brand new to this? I really like this drone a lot. It was very easy to fly. I didn't crash it my first time out, though I was definitely concerned about that. I love this controller. It was super easy to use. They pair very, very easily, which is awesome. I did have one problem. So you can kind of see in this video here where I didn't take off. That was all because this was hitting a blade of grass. One of the things I learned about this the first few times out is making sure that you get a really flat area that has nothing around it for the blades to touch anything whatsoever, if possible. For the most part, you can find that, but you might not be able to find that everywhere. Take this out and just fly it manually for a little while so you really understand the controls and how it works, and you can bring it back yourself. Once you've learned how to fly the drone yourself, then I think that's a good time to jump into auto tracking. If something goes wrong, you know how to land the drone, you know how to fly it. So was there anything I didn't like about this system? I'd have to say pretty much no. The only thing I don't like about DJI in general is it seems to cut your clips pretty often. So if you have something that's really long, it'll cut it up into several pieces. And sometimes you try to stitch those back together in post, it doesn't always work exactly as you'd like it to. But that's pretty minor. Otherwise, I think it's pretty fantastic. It landed easily, it took off easily, it flew really well. I felt like I was always in control of what was going on, and if I got close to an obstacle, the controller would beep and let me know. So again, I feel like this is a great drone for a beginner. So we'll see how this goes over time. I'm definitely gonna put out some update videos when I start using Active Track and see how that automatically tracks everything, and some of the other like master shot features, and as well as the waypoint features, just to see like, you know, how well does this work? So overall, I think for the price, this is the best drone on the market, and I would highly recommend picking it up. If you decide to get one of these and you use the link in my description, I do get something back from the Amazon affiliate program. I really appreciate that. It does help out my channel since YouTube doesn't monetize everybody, and this does take a lot of time and effort to create all these videos. Also, if you're not buying the drone, but you thought this was a good video, if you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic as well. I'm sure I'm gonna have many more videos about the Mini 4 Pro, but definitely a lot of the footage is going to be in the videos that I create from here on out. Again, thank you so much for watching. Remember to live your life in beta, and I'll see you next time.